Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. Today is Monday. I know you saw the title this morning. It is Mad Mama Bear War Room Monday. There is more crap that happened this weekend. There is a lot of yucky crap that we have to talk about this weekend. But before we get to the yucky crap that happened over the weekend, I am, as you can see, not in any of our typical studios. I'm actually near Fort Worth. I'm at my dad's house. I'm super excited to have gotten to spend the weekend with my dad and my stepmom, my sisters, lots of family love and fun and all of that jazz, if you will. And you guys know I have a picture or two I can show. Hold on a second. You just hold on 1 second. Social media world. Anyway, so it was a good weekend. I enjoyed getting to just have some time with my family that I never get to do. So that was exciting. I'm actually going to lose my right arm for a few days. So I don't know how I feel about that because Alex is going to be staying here with my dad and stepmom and my sisters for the week. So they're excited. But I'm having mom moments. So we'll see how it all works out. But anyway, we had a good time. As you guys know, my dad's a musician. So he wanted to have a big concert for his birthday. So that's what he did. And hold on, I'm trying to get you guys to my favorite picture here. There it is. Dad with his grandkids. Aww. And I'm not the bragging type, but I think those are some pretty gosh darn cute little kids, if I do say so myself. All of them, all 6 of them. Absolutely precious. So it was a good time. Everyone had a really good time. Dad had a good time. And yes, I did make my dad his, as you can see, he specifically requested a German chocolate cake. I made him that last year for his birthday. And it was a huge hit to the point that members of the band came in because I hadn't pulled it out yet. It was a crazy day. We lost power. There was a huge storm here this weekend. So all of that stuff happened. We lost power. It didn't come on until like an hour and a half before people started arriving. So I didn't get to finish making the cake until after people were here anyway. And some people were like, hey, did you make that cake? Your dad said you were making that cake that you made last year. And I started laughing. I said, yes, I'm making dad's cake. It'll be at the end of this set. It will be ready. And so it was a lot of fun. And you guys know me, I enjoy baking and cooking for other people. So it was extra special. And like I told you guys on the show last week, that was the only request dad had was for my German chocolate cake. So it was done and it was delicious. Miss Patty wants an Italian wedding cake. I've never made one of those, so I like making new things too. So we'll see. Patience, Miss Patty, patience. I will have some time in Laredo this week, so maybe. All right, guys, there has been more news than you can shake a stick at this weekend, and none of it, not one bit of it, was good. Not even for 1 second. You guys remember last week we had the Cleveland shooter. Of course, Sheriff Capers and Sheriff Henderson had worked together in San Jacinto County. The shooting happened in San Jacinto County. And then they apprehended in Montgomery County, and the shooter was being held in the Montgomery County jail. Okay, that's all good news that they caught the bad guy, right? That was fantastic news. The bad publicity from it, because the left they have to, right? The left just absolutely feels like they have to. So the bad news from that situation was that, hold on, I need to make sure that I have the right stuff going on here. The bad news from that situation is that the only thing that the left could talk about was the fact that Governor Abbott called the people exactly what they were, specifically the shooter exactly what they were, which was an illegal alien. In fact, that person had been deported multiple times since 2009. I believe it was over 4 times this person has been deported. There were so many things that were wrong with the situation. So hold on 1 second. One of our guests is texting me here now. Okay, sorry. They had questions about the links. Okay. So they wanted to try and focus on the fact that all that mean, evil Governor Abbott wanted to talk about was the immigration status of this hardworking person. This hardworking person who looks like severe cartel ties. Now, this was not a cartel killing in Cleveland. In Cleveland, that was a drunk, illegal alien who illegally had a firearm that he should have never had because gun laws work, right? And so do immigration laws, clearly. So, there were so many wrongs here, but the only thing that the right wanted to focus, that the left wanted to focus on was that Governor Abbott called him an illegal alien, which he absolutely was. They didn't want to focus on anything else. So now we fast forward to this weekend. So this weekend, we had a car crash into an NGO facility in Brownsville, Texas. And immediately, the left started screaming that it was white supremacy. Instantly. I mean, without even blinking an eyelash, they said that, and there were children that were hurt. I'm trying to remember. Hold on. There were several people that were hurt and or killed in that car crashing into the NGO facility in Brownsville. And what did the left come out immediately and say? It was white supremacy. These are these far right radicals. No, actually, it was a cartel member who crashed into that NGO. So that was odd, wasn't it? Odd for everyone. But that's okay. We move on. We shouldn't talk about that story, right? It never happened. It never happened. It wasn't the narrative that we needed for the news. So that story never happened. So if you didn't hear about it, don't be shocked. Giggle it. It happened. YouTube it. Whatever you do, it happened. Oh, speaking of YouTube, welcome back to our YouTube audience. We finally got permission to air on you again. So let's see how long it is before we offend somebody. So fast forward to Saturday in Allen, Texas, which is not too far from where I'm at here. My dad's. It's on the Dallas side of the DFW side of life. There was a mall shooting. It was a mass shooting. There, I believe, 9 people were killed, many more injured. The thing goes on and on, right? Guess what? It was more white supremacy. Man, this is getting awkward for everybody. White people just going around. Oh, wait, no, it wasn't a white person again. It was yet another Hispanic person. It gets better. Somebody who's connected to Tango Blast. A Tango Blast cartel member shot up the mall in Allen, Texas. But guess what? They're screaming white supremacy. Now, here's where it gets really painful for all of us. So these stories, we've been sharing this stuff. Walter has just been amazing, as he always is, at keeping up with what's going on and making sure that people know what is being said and what is actually happening. No, it is absolutely about the guns. We haven't got trust and believe, because wait, there's more. Just when you think it's not enough that it's just white supremacy, right? And all of these white people are trying to keep anybody who is not white down, right? Brown, apparently. Okay, so when I was running for Congress the first time, I was told that I could not say that my children were brown or that Manny was brown. And I'm like, they are physically brown. And they're like, that is very racist, and you may not say that. And I'm like, I physically made them. Like, it's not racist. When you call me white, that's not racist. I'm white. I mean, technically, as Arthur says, you're not white, mommy, you're peach. But I'm white. Okay? That's not a racist term. That is what color I am. Okay. If I was purple, then you could say I was purple, right? I have blonde hair when I get my hair done. And if you say, oh, she's blonde, that's not a racist term. I have blonde hair. On my driver's license, it says that I'm white and that I have blonde hair, right? Do you see where I'm going with this? It's not racist. It's who you are. If you're not okay with who you are, that's between you and Jesus, and you need to pray about it, okay? But that has nothing to do with racism. Just so that we're all clear on this picture for just that little Snapchat moment, okay? So the whole thing is, it's all white supremacy, and this is the horse that the media and the left is going to beat to death. Guess what they've done? They've removed pictures and posts with the picture of these gunmen. Walter had that posted all over his social media. Guess what? Now on those posts, this post has been taken down or deleted. If you know Walter, he doesn't take down or delete posts. It literally says, in fact, I have it open here specifically so that you guys can see that that's exactly what it says. Hold on. Give me a second. But we got a lot of news. We got lots of news. Here's one on Twitter that was specific because, I mean, literally it had the gunman's pictures in it. So I didn't need to. This is my fault. I'm going to own this. I did not take the screenshots because I knew where the articles were. I knew where the still pictures were, right? So I will own not taking the pictures. If you see on here, right here, boom, this tweet is unavailable. 956 got a brand new. This was about the guy who crashed in to see it's blocking everything. It's blocking everything. Let's see if we can view it. Oh, look, that's the face of white supremacy right there. Very, very white supremacist looking, I think. What do you think about that? Does that look like white supremacy to you? Doesn't look like it to me. Doesn't look like it to me at all. Odd. So then I need to show you the other white supremacist, if you don't mind. Here's the other white. Now that one that I just showed you, that one was from the guy crashing into the NGO there in Brownsville, Texas. Okay. Here's the guy. Now, this is an old picture because naturally these are criminals, but we don't want to discuss the fact that these are criminals. This is the guy who allegedly shot up the mall in Allen, Texas. Do you see that? You see the other white supremacists that we're dealing with right here? Gunman in Texas mall shooting may have had neo-Nazi beliefs. Officials probe Texas mall shooter, possible link to white supremacy. Mauro Garcia. Does everyone see Mauro Garcia? Again, that's not white supremacy. That's not white supremacy. Now, this is because you guys know that we don't shy away from conversations and political correct is not in our vocabulary. This picture was hysterical because this is apparently what white supremacy now looks like in America. I know. Is that too soon? Too soon? I don't think so. Now I know what you're thinking to yourself. You're thinking, Sandra, they're not saying that this is white supremacy. They're not implying that they're not implying these things because that's not what they would do. The media wouldn't intentionally try and drum up racism wars. But they do. They do. Now, I watched an article this morning. It's about 10 minutes long. So, of course, we can't do the full 10 minutes. But I want you to hear Miss Betty. I need you guys to hear some of this news article. And it was an interview. It was someone on MSNBC. I don't know what this white supremacist name is. But he interviews Mark VC, which is a congressman. Okay. The whole article was asinine if we want to get down to it. But I need you to hear some of this for just a minute. I need you to hear this.
Breaking news on the horrific mall shooting in Allen, Texas. According to two senior law enforcement officials, the suspected gunman, interacted with neo-Nazis and white supremacist content online. One of the officials said that the suspect posted this kind of content himself. The other official said that he consumed such rhetoric online and said that authorities found him with a patch with a right-wing acronym on his chest. We should note the official said it is too early in the investigation to ascribe a motive, but here's what we do know. 8 people, including a 5-year-old child, died in that shooting. Of course, as we just said, the Republican refrain after massacres like this one is always thoughts and prayers. No action, zero change. That is undoubtedly the standard Republican Party line. But another line is now coinciding with it, and we heard it last night on Fox as the news of the horror in Allen, Texas was unfolding.
Just like General Mathis once said, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet because you never know.
That was former U.S. Marshal Special Deputy Alex Cocker telling Fox viewers that in America in 2023, we must have a plan to, quote, kill everyone in order to survive this society that our lawmakers have created for us. A new necessary line that conservatives will now use when discussing guns. It's not enough to own a gun. It's not enough to have that gun on you. What you need to do is be prepared, is to consider murder everywhere you go.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop him for just a second. We're going to come back to him because we aren't done with this little side. We are not done with this big ball of BS psychopath guy. Okay, we're not done with him yet. From the time before I was married, okay, that is a line I have heard my entire life. That is a line I have heard my entire life. Because people who have been in the military, people who are in law enforcement, they all say the same thing. If you're going to have a gun, be prepared to use it. Now, that's not be prepared to turn into a mass murderer. That is not what is said. That is not its intentions. What it says and what its intentions are, be prepared that every person that you want to meet is going to try to kill you until they prove you otherwise. That is what the rest of it is supposed to be, first of all. Now, that may not be what they say when down range when they're doing their military training, but in real world, until they prove otherwise. It means always be prepared, right? Are you going to say that the Boy Scout motto is that you're going to turn into a mass murderer because you're prepared? Because literally the Boy Scouts have always said, always be prepared. Maybe they're mass murderers now. I don't know. But according to this rhetoric, apparently so. I'm not done. This is going to be crap. And I also love the wind chime, Miss Patty. This is a crap show. Okay. Are you ready? So then he goes on to talk about how awful anybody who could possibly own a gun must be. And if you have a gun, you are a mass murderer or a potential mass murderer. He literally goes on with this rhetoric. He goes on and he talks about how awful Greg Abbott is and how terrible the state of Texas is because we are only number 2, or we're number 2. And Abbott apparently made a tweet that we are only number 2 in gun sales. This was a while ago. And that we need to better arm ourselves. We do need to better arm ourselves. We are literally coming into a civil war. And if you are not armed, you are going to be killed or you're going to be captured or both. Period. End of the discussion. That's not a suggestion. That's not a what if. Because an armed society is a secure society. An unarmed society is a dead society. And if you do not believe me, who stops a gunman? A therapist or another person with a gun? Simple question. Who stops a gunman? A person with a gun. Thank you, Warren, because I could not remember the exact term. Thank you. We've got to stop this BS rhetoric. Guns are not the problems. It is a heart issue. The people who have done these mass shootings and mass running over of people They are bad guys with guns who should have never had a gun. This is a fun fact. Did you know that someone who is selling a gun, right? The person who writes up the paperwork, who does the 40, let's do a legal gun transaction. I'm talking to you only about, you walk into Academy, you walk into Bob's Guns, just throwing out a name. I don't know Bob's Guns. You walk into a store that you can purchase a gun. You walk into a pawn shop. You walk into a gun show to purchase a gun. There is a form, a legal form, that you have to fill out called a 4473. Just like with a bartender, a person who is selling a gun, if they don't have a good feeling about it, they have the right to refuse, regardless of what the paperwork says. The gun salesperson has the right to refuse the sale of a gun. Police are not allowed to profile you, but the person selling the firearm is allowed to profile you. Okay? Number one. Very much number one. So let's play this game out in their perfect little world. Okay? Let's play this game out in their perfect little world. The leftist perfect little world. We still have to have guns. Ew. But you can only purchase them 1 day a week, and you can only purchase them if you've had every background check known to man, and all of the red flag laws are in place, and yada, yada, yada. Their little perfect world. Okay, let's pretend we're in their little perfect world. And they filled out the paperwork. Oh, well, the paperwork looks fine. The paperwork looks fine. They filled it out perfectly. Yep, you can have a gun. There you go. Merry Christmas. Better yet, there's also this awesome thing called straw purchases, because people will go in and they'll purchase a gun for a loved one. But it's not, no, I'm not buying this gun for somebody else. No, I'm buying it for myself. And yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm buying this gun for myself. And then they've never fired that gun one time, and they literally are buying it for somebody else. It's called a straw purchase, right? Just like when you go into a gas station and you see places and they're like, hey, you can't purchase, we'll sue you if you are purchasing alcohol or cigarettes for somebody else, because the owner of the license, of the TABC license or the 4473 license, or what do they call the FLA or whatever, they may not, you cannot just give somebody else a gun. It's against law. Even if you win a gun in a raffle, you still have to file the paperwork. And if you don't pass the background check, then the person that's carrying the license to handle the transfer of the firearm may not pass it off. See, there are laws and gun laws in place for these purposes, and people don't want to acknowledge them, right? So there's more. There's more. So this guy goes on his little rant about you have to have a prayer for, or a plan. He goes on to that rant, right? And then the representative for the district, Jeff Leach, he comes out and he's like, thoughts and prayers are done. We have to do more than pray. Well, maybe your illegals and your bad guys and your whatever should not be having firearms. Maybe someone should stop that. That'd be fun. So anyway, so then you have Mark Vesey. I'm sorry, I said his name wrong. Vesey, Veasey. He's a Democrat from Texas. He's a senator. I'm sorry, he's a congressman. He comes on and he's like, hey, look, I have a firearm. Like, I have my 4473, or I have my concealed license. Like, there's classes, and if people do that, then that's fine. Yada yada yada. But he goes on. He goes into more depth, and I need you. Then this state representative, I'm sorry, this congressman, I'm so sorry. He straight lies. He straight lies. Are you ready? I don't have it queued. We're within just a couple of seconds. I need you to hear the straight lie, because I need you to see this coming in. Are you ready?
We used to have very, reasonable gun laws here in Texas. If people wanted to, have a concealed carry license. For instance, they have to go and take a course to make sure they were proficient in shooting. They've gotten rid of that. You used to have to have you used to not be able to walk into the state capitol without a gun. Now they've taken the metal detectors down at the state capitol. You can just, walk right in into the state capitol now. So, things here are going backwards as it relates to gun safety. And I can tell you, this whole
I'm sorry. What did did his pants immediately catch on fire? Because I have never, ever been into the state capitol without there being metal detectors at all of the doors. The only time that you don't have to go through a metal detector is if you have your concealed license and you have to have that scanned. Okay. And here's the best part. Thank you. You have to walk. You can carry in the Capitol. You can conceal carry in the Capitol if you have your license. And if you don't have your license, you have to go through the metal detector. They have to inspect you because you have not gone through the state's background check to get your concealed license permit. You have not gone through the class. So they just want to make sure that you are not going to be breaking any laws. They just want to make sure that you have what you are legally allowed to have in the state of Texas. You still have to go through the metal detector unless you have your concealed permit. This congressman straight up lied on national television about gun laws and about how the state capitol here in Texas works. He is a congressman in the Fort Worth area. He talks about that earlier. He talks about how he and his family go to this outlet mall all the time. He openly talks about how they are in Houston this weekend looking at schools for their child. And now I'm having to have conversations with my child about being safe in public places because you just never know what's going to happen. But I would never tell them to always have a plan to kill everybody they meet. But we do discuss gun safety. We do discuss this. So he says, I have my own guns. I have, and he even says, and I will never get rid of my guns in Texas. We're not getting rid of guns in Texas. Like, he contradicts himself. You have to go back and watch this. You have to go back and watch this because this guy needs to be shredded from every single level from now until forever. He should never be in office again because every time he opened his mouth in this interview, he lied. This is the problem. This is the problem, America. We are electing people who only say what tickles our ears. We are electing people who don't have any concept or mental fortitude of what's actually happening. He talks when he first comes onto the air, the reporter asks him, hey, so what's it like being in such a dangerous place like Texas? Like, it can't even be safe for you to go out in town anymore or anything, right? What in the... How about you call someone in Chicago and ask that question? How about you call someone in freaking California and ask that question? All of the murders that have happened, all of the mass murders that have happened in the last, week have been from people who have cartel or are illegal. And I'm only saying and are illegal because I don't know the immigration status of the last two guys, but they are with the cartel. They have the cartel tattoos all over them. So for the rhetoric to be about white supremacy and about needing to have stricter gun laws, these people have lost their mother-loving, God-forsaken minds. I have never have to defend Abbott more on this show than I have had to in this last week and talk about good for him because effing good for him. PC conversation is what has gotten us into this mess. Being unwilling to address the elephant in the room is what has gotten us into this mess. if you are not fired up about this BS white supremacy conversation that they're trying to shove down your throats and make you insist that you buy into, you are the problem. If you do not like what is happening around you, vote. But don't just go and say, oh, I have to vote for Democrats because, yeah, I don't like that the murders are happening and we're anti-guns in the Democrat Party. So, yeah, that's why I got to vote Democrat. I know that Biden is a child molester. Yeah, and he sells out our country. Yeah, I know all that. But he likes windmills, and I like them too because it's green energy. And also, I don't like guns. Let me tell you what. Do y'all remember that picture of Hunter Biden when he had a gun with cocaine? These people are lying to you. And if you were so stupid and ignorant that you believe this crap, shame on you. Get your head out of your rear end and look at something. Not what MSNBC literally just lied to you for 9 minutes and 48 seconds. You have to go and watch this article or this news story. And the Democrat Congress member from Texas literally lied to you the entire time he opened his mouth. It's vile. Quit electing people because of their Obamacare promises. They are liars and they are frauds. And every single member in every single chamber in every single elected office needs to be replaced with somebody who has never held an office in that seat before. No more incumbents. No more incumbents. No more career politicians. They are literally the death of this country. The politicians are killing them. We talk about being we the people work, and this is why. Because we the people cannot work unless we work. We cannot be a sovereign nation. We cannot protect children. We cannot protect our families. We cannot have jobs. We cannot have cars. We cannot go and get our nails done. We cannot enjoy the simple, finer things in life, like a Saturday at the T-ball field. Unless people are actually willing to do their part. Simon, you are spot on. People say this crap all the time, don't, especially in the banking conversation. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that one. Listen, we are going to take a commercial break because we're going to take a hard turn. Because the most, even more vile than all of the things that we have talked about today in the last 37 minutes, I have something that's going to make you throw up. So be prepared. We're going to take a commercial break. I'm going to bring on the family member of somebody who has gone through one of the most horrific things that you could possibly, I don't even want to, you need to come back. So we're going to take a commercial break. Go get your coffee. Go heat up your coffee. Go get a bottle of water. Do what you need to do. I would caution you, you probably don't want to eat during this next segment because it's going to make you sick to your stomach. It's a guarantee. It's a guarantee. So we're going to be right back with our absolutely amazing guest. Guys, we'll be right back. We are back with an absolutely huge thank you to our amazing sponsors. Of course, the Montgomery County Tea Party. Don't forget the first and the third Monday of the month. Make sure you are in Montgomery County, Texas at Citizens Grill in Conroe. Be there around 6 because the meeting starts at 6:30. You want to make sure you get yourself something to eat, hug some necks, and find out what some of the issues are, because the way that this works, the way that it works is that we have to come together. We have to have a plan, and then we have to execute it. Okay. It's just the way it has to work. And Montgomery County Tea Party has an excellent blueprint for that. They can help you walk you through the process. They can teach you what you need to know. There's so many things, just so many things that you may not know. And it's simple things. It's things that we don't think about, like how does the process work in Texas? Why is it different in Texas than it is in Wyoming? Like just different things like that. These are all things that we try to educate you guys on. We do it here on the show, but you can get a real hands-on approach at the Montgomery County Tea Party. So make sure that you're there if you can be. Also, a huge never-ending thank you to the Vietnam Veterans of America. Your hard work and sacrifice, not just in Vietnam, but when you came home, is unimaginable. And we are a truly grateful nation, and we thank you so much for everything that you have done and you continue to do. If you're interested in hosting a commercial here on Texas Fully Loaded, please let me know. I want to make your dream a reality. So let's get you on the air. This is a nationwide audience. And hey, we're even international. You guys know that. So come on, make it happen. We need your support. Let's say that you don't have a commercial. Let's say that you don't have anything that you want to support except for this show. Go to TexasFullyLoaded.com, click on hashtag We the People Work, and you can support us that way. You can also go to Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo at Texas Fully Loaded. Or if you see us in person and you want to be able to, give us a little extra travel money or a check or something along those lines, we would be happy to take that. We are also accepting lightsabers for the Rebel Alliance. And our situation is fixing to explode on the Rebel Alliance work that we need to do. Okay, now, as I said right before we went to our commercial break, that we have this beautiful family member. Her name is Heather. She's going to be joining us. I'm going to lightly set the scene because I want to tell you how I found out about this. So, as you guys know, I'm up here at my dad's house. Walter calls me at some ungodly hour of the night. I think I'd already just started falling into my coma. And he said, Sandra, you're not going to believe this. I'm listening to a Twitter space. And I'm like, I don't really care. I'm trying to sleep. He's like, I know, but you need to hear this. And I'm like, that's not happening. And then he started telling me, and it didn't how when you're in that in-between fog and sleep, wake, not awake moment that you hear, but you can't react. Okay. That was a real thing. It was happening. The next morning I wake up and I called him and I said, did you tell me that a 6-year-old little girl was molested by 6-year-old little boys inside of a classroom, and it was recorded on an iPad, and nothing has happened? And he goes, yes. Here in Texas, in Plainview ISD. I'm going to bring the older cousin of the young girl that this happened to on, and I want you guys to hear her story about what is going on, how this happened, how they found out, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, Miss Heather. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Hi. So can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Thank you so much for being on our show today. I truly appreciate your courage and willingness to step out and talk about what's happening and what has happened to your cousin. So your name is Heather. Tell us who you are, and clearly you're her cousin, but tell us what you got.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on here. So the victim is my cousin. She's a 6-year-old girl, like you said. And basically, we're frustrated because we want accountability and we want transparency. Since all of this occurred, we've pretty much been kept in the dark, and that's pretty frustrating to us. What happened is I finally just put a post on Facebook and kind of got everyone riled up, and that's kind of what's getting all this started. I don't know. Do you want me to tell you I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was getting ready to say, so tell us kind of how this started from the beginning, that, tell us y'all's timeline and how it all started, what you guys found out and how you found out, so that people can match our anger.
Okay. So the incident occurred on April 19th. That was a Wednesday. We were not aware of anything. 2 days later, on a Friday, we were all at my grandma's. It was 5 or 6 p.m. And the school calls my aunt And she says, well, I just want to let you know that there's an incident where some of the kids were on an iPad. They were like watching stuff they shouldn't be. We're investigating it, but don't worry. Like, she made it seem like it was just, we thought that they were watching maybe like a bad YouTube video, is kind of how she made it sound to us. Little did we know that that was them notifying us of the occurrence. So we kind of left it at that. My aunt, one of my aunts was kind of questioning her, like, well, can you tell me kind of what happened? Because, Monday's a long way away. So just kind of tell me. And we just kind of got from her that they were on an iPad. Really, it seemed like it was not a big issue at all. So Monday comes and they send her to school like normal. Tuesday, Wednesday, everything's normal. Thursday, they pick her up from school and they notice she's kind of upset. She's wanting to go home. She's wanting to lay down. They could just tell that something's not right. So they kind of ask her, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? And she's very worried, and she says, well, this man pulled me aside today in the classroom and he was questioning me. And they were like, questioning you about what? This iPad situation that they brought up last week? And she was like, well, no. And that's when she kind of told them that another incident happened that day because of their negligence. And she was in line, and this little boy got behind her in line, and he said, hey, look, he called her name, and she turned around and he exposed his private to her in line. So of course my aunt is mad. She was like, okay, we didn't. At school, yes.
Was this in the lunch line, or?
I don't know if they were going to the lunch or library, but they were going somewhere. Yes, okay. Outside of the classroom. Yes. So of course my aunt's mad. She's like, okay, this happened today. We haven't got called. And then a grown man is questioning you without us knowing, without a teacher being present, without a female being present. So she's mad. So she takes her inside, and my aunt speaks to the principal, and she's like, what's going on? I need answers. And all the principal could say is she can't give her any information, but she gave her the number to the guy who was investigating her. And she said, go ahead and call him and he could give you the information you need. So they left. We all were at my aunt's house, and my two aunts call him. And they're basically like, we want to know why you were questioning her, what's going on. We don't have any answers. Somewhere along the way, he let it be known that there was oral sex being performed. And of course, my aunts go crazy because, oral sex in the same sentence as a 6-year-old, they're crazy. They're asking a million questions. He's frustrated, not really answering. So I go ahead and I take over the phone, just because I was like, let me get clearly what's going on. So I say, okay, they said that oral sex performed. Is that true? And basically at that point, he tells me, yeah, there's a school iPad with the video of oral sex being performed on a bunch of little kids. That's what he said at that point. And so of course we're freaking out. He doesn't even seem to have an idea of what happened during the day. So we're like, what the hell's going on? We're in the dark about all this. We're having to find all this out from an outside source. And so I tell him, why have we not been notified of this if this incident happened last Wednesday and now we're a week and a day later? And he says, well, I don't know what the school's policy is, but my policy is to notify within 24 hours. So I don't know why the school hasn't contacted you guys. So of course we're mad. We hang up the phone with him because we're getting nowhere. And then my aunts are going crazy. They speak to my cousin, and later that night, they finally get the story from her that, yes, something like this did occur in the classroom with the teacher there. I don't know if you have any questions right now.
I was going to say, let's take a pause for just a second. This is Walter. I know you guys talked on the phone earlier.
Hi.
So, hey, Walt. So let's kind of back up for just a second. So here we have a classroom with 6-year-olds. I'm sorry, 6-year-olds, yes. First graders, yes. First yes. grade classroom, Plainview, Texas, and they are so unattended to by a teacher that oral sex is being performed on one another, and she. It's a woman. She just turns around and says, "Not my job." I mean, so there's that. How many little boys were? And was it just one little boy, or was it several little boys that?
So from now what we've gathered is she was the only one who performed this act, and it was on one child, but there was another little boy recording it on the school iPad, and then there was other students who actually saw it happen. And so there's several kids obviously involved in this now.
So now how did the proposition, I guess, happen? Was he just like, hey, not just look at my tallywhacker, but hey, like how did that transaction, for a lack of better terms, happen?
So, of course, all the information we're getting is from the children, since
Right,
the
from
school
6-year-olds,
refuses to
so.
answer. Yes. So what the story my aunt got from her was that she was basically, for some reason, she's sitting at a table with 4 other boys. She's the only female in this area. So apparently the teacher is at her desk working with a group of small, like maybe 3 or 4 kids. So my cousin is sitting at the desk. The boys are trying to get her to go under the desk, trying to pull her down, and she's reading her book, and she's like, no, leave me alone. Well, they're finally able to pull her down under the table. And I guess this child already had his pants off, because they're pulling her face towards his private. And they're just telling her, do it, do it, do it. And she says, I'm hitting him with my poetry book. Obviously she's not getting saved by the teacher or anyone. So they finally get her face to his private, and they said they inserted his private into her mouth. And we said, how long did this happen? And she said, I don't know. And we said, well, when did it stop? And she said, well, when he finally let me go. And we know she's telling the truth because she tells the same story, and she gives us details. Like she said, I was hitting him with my poetry, but kids aren't going to make up stuff like that. And so, yeah, we're fresh. We're like, okay, if you were working with kids, how could you not see this? How could you not hear it? This wasn't just over the span of a couple seconds,
Right.
And it's infuriating because we don't get any answers. They completely shut us out, and we're just having to find out everything on our own.
So Heather, are y'all able to hear me okay up there?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay. So with all this being said, it roundabout in a roundabout way, y'all never got the full story from the principal or from the school superintendent, who has a history of sexual assaults within his school districts that he was fired for, even though there's a non-disclosure agreement. Is that right?
Correct. That is right.
Okay, yeah, and that's why we have dubbed HT Sanchez the Dirty Sanchez hashtag, because this happens to be a pattern under his leadership. The fact of the matter, I was listening to your, I guess is that your grandmother or your aunt that was talking?
My aunt, yes.
Okay.
My aunt.
So, and she was talking about how they, you guys at least wanted to view this thing. You guys want, hey, here's the fun part. I got a local sheriff right here. Hey, Sheriff.
Howdy, I got to run.
Okay,
I got to go recover a deceased. So
a deceased person. Hey, send me a pen. I'll come out there.
Won't be on private land.
Cool. Okay.
We've got to.
Cool. Anyway, sorry, they've got to go recover a dead body out here. They would not let y'all view the video. Isn't that correct?
Correct. So Thursday we found out all this information. Come Friday, I go with my aunts to the school to at least find out, is this true? If this happened, why did y'all keep her with these boys and allow another incident to happen? Sorry. So yeah, so we went to the school. Every question we had was no comment. I cannot answer. They didn't give us any information. And so my aunt at that point says, well, if you're not going to give us any information or details, can I not see the video of my granddaughter? I am the legal guardian. Can I not see the video of the details to see what we're dealing with? And at that point, and even up until now, the school, the superintendent, the investigator, they all say that legally we are not allowed to see it. She's not allowed to see it as a guardian because it's considered child pornography.
So were the school district police ever there?
So each campus has a police officer. Their police officer was there, and when we asked if there was an investigation with the police, they said not with the Plainview police, but with the school police, yes. And that's when we did our own police report, because we know that the school police does not do anything here.
Well, and with that being said, the school police work for the superintendent, who happens to be a repetitive professional pedophile producer. Can we say that? Because this has happened in other school districts. So and this is one of my biggest concerns with police departments within the ISDs, because they react to an elected official who gives out an unconstitutional order. And so that police officer at that school should have taken custody of your cousin and should have been an advocate for your cousin, not for a pedophile producer that signs his paycheck. And that's where we're falling off as a former police officer and soldier in this country. That's where we're falling off. And that's where half these guys deserve an ass whooping. And yes, I did say that. I would hope that you guys would reach out to old Wally Hatch, your district attorney, and to David Cochran, your sheriff, because I think they would be able to have a larger piece of brevity to the situation and be able to pull it from the city, be able to pull it from the ISD, because it is quite clear that these morons do not have the children in mind. They only have the mind of self-preservation once they've gone past the point of no return.
Now, I heard Heather, and I put the picture of this terrible individual up because I absolutely have no problem having him shamed. They actually made the statement that they have to protect their staff. Is that correct?
Yes.
They have to protect their staff. And the teacher is only on administrative leave. Is that also correct?
Yes, the teacher is, the principal is not. And now I have come to find that these boys have been doing stuff all year long to other girls. And so had they stepped up sooner, this would not have happened to my cousin. These boys, to give you a backstory, one child has been taking his dad's phone to school and having all the kids watch porn. They're telling the little girls they need to touch their privates or they'll give them Indian burns or punish them. They're showing their penis to other boys, other girls in the class. This has been happening all year long. And we're like, how the hell is the principal, the teacher, the superintendent still there with all of this happening?
I mean, I'm physically getting nauseous listening to these details.
Yeah.
As a mother of boys, I am absolutely appalled. I told I told you this before, and of course our audience knows, but those who might be watching for the first time, I have an 18-year-old son, a 15-year-old son, and a 6-year-old son. And this would never, I mean, I shared with you guys yesterday on the phone, we had a birthday party for my dad, and there were other boys here yesterday, and Charlotte, and then one other little girl who was like 2 or 3 years old. And they were kind of picking the other brothers from the other family were picking on the little 3-year-old little girl. And Arthur, my 6-year-old, was absolutely furious with them. And those boys were bigger than him. And he stood up to them and he said, "We don't pick on little sisters. If it was a big one, maybe, but not a little sister." And my boys will kind of tease and kind of act like they don't care, but they protect their sister like it's nobody's business. They're like, where the first thing out of their mouths were, where were the teachers? Instantly, the first thing out of their mouths was, where were the teachers? And why was this allowed to continue? And now to hear that there's a history of this, and see, this is the problem. And here's the problem with these ISD police units, is they step in and they say, oh, we have to keep all of this internal because we have to protect our staff, we have to protect our students, but we only are protecting this student. There was an incident when Austin was in middle school where somebody beat him up. Like, they hit him so hard he had a mark on his face. We were not allowed to have any say over any of it except if we wanted to press charges.
Wow.
And even then, they would not give us the information of the child or the parents. It was going to be kept with the police. Are you freaking kidding me? Like that?
Sounds about right.
There are no victims' rights. They are only rights for the attackers.
Yep.
And the sad thing is that is the same thing for in the grown-up world. There are no such thing as victim rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sadly, the school released a statement that they reached out to family on a Friday and a Monday. That was not accurate. The only family members they reached out to was the family of the child who the sexual act was performed on, and they reached out to them on a Thursday. So yeah, I agree with you. For them to not reach out and really let everyone know what was happening. I mean, if you guys are saying a Friday call about an iPad is reaching out to us, then I don't even know what to say to them. It's just so frustrating. And we went to the school administration office that Monday, because everyone just kept refusing to answer our questions. And we were out there before staff arrived. And so after about an hour, we're like, this guy has to be hiding. So I went around the back of the building to see if I could catch him. And sure enough, I caught him sitting in his truck hiding. And I rolled down the window and I told him very nicely, you have a lot of parents in the front who would like to speak to you. And he told me very rude and ugly. He yelled at me. He said, I'm not talking to anybody but legal guardians. And I said, well, sir, they are legal guardians up there. And I got my phone out to start recording him. And at that point, he just zoomed off. And we didn't hear from him for about 3 or 4 hours until he finally had his school police tell my aunts that he would talk to them. But all he gave them was that statement pretty much that he gave the public. And I'm like, okay, even if by law, like you're saying, this is under investigation, so you can't talk about it. You don't think as a superintendent, you won't give us the respect to at least say, this is what's happening. I'm sorry. He hasn't even done that, and now he's saying that we're threatening him and he's canceling school, saying that we're starting all this stuff with misinformation. And it's like, had you taken care of this, we wouldn't have to be putting our own information out there. So it's just very frustrating.
Well, and here we are, we're at the end of the school year. There's been this pattern of behavior. Now, we talk on this show a lot about red flag laws, right? And the problem with red flag laws is that they can start in first grade, and when a first grader is having a temper tantrum day or a teacher just doesn't like them, they can go and say, hey, this child has got has temperament and behavioral issues, and then they are 30 years old and they grew out of their kindergarten or first grade issues that can follow them. That's wrong. What's happening right now is not a temper tantrum issue. What is happening right now is a history of abuse, and this is abuse. Okay. These are the same people who are saying it's okay. Simon brought up Miss Patty, these are all 6-year-olds. Simon asked, does Plainview have porn in their libraries, or do they have drag queen story hours? These are all serious questions, because this is happening in these ISDs where we don't talk about Bruno, right? We just let it happen because, well, it'll all sort itself out. No, it's not going to all sort itself out. These boys, specifically the one who was forcing this act on your cousin, these boys who recorded it, these boys who did not say anything, they're going to grow up and become politicians.
Yeah,
because boys will be boys, and I'm sure they didn't mean anything by it. I'm sure she's exaggerating.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of when they presented it to I don't know if it was the principal, I think it might have been her, but when they presented it, they kind of, when they told my aunt the story or just a few details, they kind of made my aunt feel like if it was her fault. And I'm like, there is no way in hell, even if she was the one who initiated this, she is 6 years old, these are babies, so they're already trying to victim blame, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. This should have never happened in the classroom. They should have handled it way better, and they're just not taking any accountability, and they're not being transparent with any information that they're giving us.
Realistically, the parents of this 6-year-old boy who made your cousin perform these acts, they need to have charges brought against them. They need to have child abuse and neglect brought against them. They need to have indecent exposure of a child charges brought up against them. They need to have they have become groomers. The fact that this boy has been taking his father's cell phone, first of all, to school with him,
well,
to show other kids porn.
Actually, in the state of Texas, that is a violation of law. That is a felony on the parent.
Right.
Where's the Department of Public Safety? Where is the Criminal Investigation Division? Where is the FBI to capture all that? Because you and I both know whoever owned that cell phone went in there and tried to scrub everything they could, to include they probably sledgehammered that thing and stuck it in the neighbor's microwave for about 3 minutes until the house caught on fire.
Well, I mean, Walter, you're giving them far too much credit. These clearly are people who do not care, who don't think that law is going to affect them. These are people who clearly are not in any business raising children. If I were to guess, and it's only a guess, I'm speculating that these boys are probably not well taken care of at home. They are probably coming to school in the same clothes a couple days a week, probably only get to eat at school. I mean, I'm just assuming.
You never know that they could also be. But, is there a possibility, Heather, that y'all know who it is?
So I do know one of the boys. I know one of his family members. I was actually good friends with her in school. The other boy, his family, we have found them on Facebook, but they have not reached out to us. We have not reached out to them. We kind of, did our own creeping on them. It looks like, I mean, I don't know. It looks like they're decent people, but like you said, at the same time, I'm like, these boys are not just learning this on their own. They definitely need to be investigated, because from the beginning, we were telling everyone, these are all babies, and we need to make sure that those boys are not abused at home. Because why are they doing this stuff?
Because that's a learned behavior.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't CPS come visit you guys?
Yes. So CPS, they did it was later on, after all this kind of blew up, they did a forensic interview. And at that point, the investigator, the story was kind of changing already. It was kind of like, well, that's kind of not how it happened. She's not saying it accurately. And back to that, we were like, okay, then can we please see the video so we could know accurately what's happening? And he was like, well, I'm going to have to talk to my superiors. But as of now, we still don't have any approval to let anyone see it.
We need to find a hacker.
This is the problem. This is the problem with CPS, period. Because your local sheriff has the ability to take full ride of this, kick CPS clean out of the case, yep, and start a cut and dried investigation that starts in black and white and ends in black and white. CPS is there to obfuscate everything that's going on. They're look at how CPS has failed the state of Texas throughout. We have children that keep getting put back into abusive situations because, that's what's on paper. That's what's on paper. Yep. Are the parents of these kids or relatives of these kids, are they politically connected? I mean, because you live in a small town up there, and you already now, from what I remember you telling me yesterday, they offered you counseling. Isn't that correct? Your cousin.
Yeah, so they offered counseling, but it would have to be through their services, and obviously we don't trust anything that they are going to do for us. Yeah. And then for you to kind of touch on are they connected? This is all just hearsay, but we've kind of put two and two together, and we feel that the school police that was on duty, we feel that he is actually maybe friends with the boy who he was taking his dad's phone, and so we're like, well. That kind of makes some sense right there.
Yeah.
Wow. And so here's the sad part. So so now you've got the ability for, like I said, that police officer right there, that's the school campus that's working for the pedophile producer Dirty Sanchez. That one right there. If the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement comes in, they can actually swipe his phone to find out if he's had contact with those people on his phone or even on a school phone. Because they're going to hide everything with verbal conversation. They're going to try to wipe away all electronic media so that there's they said this, they said that. All they had to do was do the right thing the first time,
yes,
which would have happened earlier last semester when they were pulling their tallywhackers out in the middle of the lunch line.
Yes.
So here's something that I just kind of thought about. I think that it would be, I know it costs money, so I'm not trying to say this lightly, like, well, just do this and it'll all go away. Every single person in that school, every single adult in that school that has access to any electronics in that school, anybody that has access to the iCloud for that ISD, y'all need to sue them for possession of child pornography.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Because they're sitting here telling you that you cannot view your child, your grandparents' your child. You cannot view your child being abused in a sexual situation. But hey, how did you know that was on there? Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Does that mean that you watched that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's
Boom.
a
Jail time for
great
you
point.
and you and you and you.
Well,
Yeah,
and
because when they
so that's
I'm
actually the
sorry.
thing. That's actually the thing. Y'all can physically, since you have a police officer with that school district, you can go to the website, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, TCOL.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Mm-hmm.
submit a complaint against the individual police officer, and two, the police department. And this is the kind of thing that gets police departments shut down. So think about this. Now you're going to save the school district some money, because now the school district can pay the sheriff to assign police officers to those locations. The sheriff would be able to police the schools instead of having this fall underneath of the superintendent, who we already know is a suggested pedophile producer as per his history. So the thing I literally think, for the listeners here and for your family, each individual one, I really think you guys need to go on to the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement website, produce the police officer that y'all talk to, because
Mm-hmm.
whoever the guardian is, they get to see exactly what investigation process has been done. And keep in mind, this all goes to this goes to Wally Hatch. Did I say his name good enough? Wally Hatch, the district attorney.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
all goes. See, whenever you say people's name and you're on media and whatnot, now someone has to answer for it. So since I'm a Wally and that's a Wally, we can all make sure Wally takes care of little Johnny's Willie down there to make sure it doesn't slip out again. And this is the kind of stuff that makes people shine. But those complaints need to be made, and then on top of that, find out what the city police have done, because the city police, all they're going to do is refer over to the ISD police, and it'll be a joint investigation, and all you've got to do is state, because the superintendent and everything below it is at fault right now, since it's under their supervision, you've got to pull the ISD police completely out of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since there's a possibility of a relationship with one of the parents.
Now, Aaron, well, as soon as I was fixing to say his name, there he is. Aaron Sorrells has just joined us. Aaron, you are responsible for bringing us into this. So thanks. And also, hey, buddy, how are you? You're muted, by the way.
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. So, well, aside from the nausea that hits every single time I have thought about this in the last, 48 hours. So Aaron, tell us really quick, for those of you who don't know, Aaron ran for lieutenant governor in the 2022 cycle. He and I became quick friends during that campaign because we saw each other freaking everywhere. And then you kind of laid low for a little bit, and you started kind of coming out of the shadows, and this is what you bring us. What's going on?
I mean, I've been working on my We're Done project again after I kind of had to save my business for my run. But and I can't take credit for this. Hailey, who's been in direct contact, Hailey Burst on Twitter has been in direct contact with Heather from the beginning, or as soon as we could get a hold of her. He's really the one that saw the story on TikTok. And so to the people that got it on TikTok, for Heather and them for getting out the information, they're the ones that got it. And all we did was say, the point of what I've been doing with We're Done is to start trying to get counties involved and get people involved to get out and help the communities where they need it, because we've been leaving our own out to dry, and people like Heather are just saying, hey, we need help. And these guys have got contacts, they've got money, they've got resources, and they silence anybody that wants to stand up against the system. And we know what the system's doing to these kids. We know what the system's doing to us as civilians. And so, that's pretty much what I wasn't expecting to start blasting We're Done quite yet, but it seemed like an appropriate time because this is what we wanted to do. Like, we want to draw people to these situations. If your blood's not boiling after hearing what is going on with the little girl and what happened in this school district, then I don't know what makes you tick. Because if we can't defend innocent children from abuse like this, and where grown adults are protecting and stopping the guardians and the family from getting justice and even seeing the video, I mean, what are we doing? Like, this is the main thing we should be focused on is helping each other out, especially as Texans. Like, we should be there to help fellow Texans out. We love to talk about how we're all Texans and how we're not like everybody else, but we're leaving Texans out to dry. And it's small town Texas is corrupt, and we all know it. That any of us that live here, we know what they do. They try to control it with their money.
And here's going to be the really sad part. And I try to explain this to people. Whenever you put your children in a school, especially if you put them in a public school, you immediately sign over everything. You don't have the right to sue the school. You don't have the right to sue the teacher. You lose all of your rights. So if your child had fallen down or the teacher shoved the kid and the kid broke their leg, you don't have a right to sue the school for the legal or the medical expenses for the child because you signed those rights away. And people go, I would never do that. Oh, yes, you did. You did it when you signed your child up to be in the school. And so I can't help but wonder where the loophole is going to be so that they try to tie the hands of this so that your family cannot sue, cannot do what is necessary legally because, well, you signed your rights away when you came to the school because we protect ourselves. And so it's too bad, so sad. And so because of this, we're certainly going to make sure that nobody involved, except for you, the victim, you are 100% hung out to dry, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But we're safe. And yes, the student who did this to your student is safe because that's what happens when you go to public school.
Yeah, a lot of the people who work at the admin office and a lot of the teachers, they're kind of, like you said, instead of talking about the real situation, they're all basically saying, well, they're doing what they need to according to policy and procedure and legally. And so it's like, okay, if you're telling the truth and they're doing what they can legally, and then policies need to change. I don't know in what world we're living that stuff could happen and parents are not notified and told the whole details. And it's so frustrating because, like you said, so many people in this town are forgetting what matters, and they're talking about, admin and making it seem like we're coming for the teachers when we're not coming from the teachers. We just want that one teacher to be held accountable.
Right. Absolutely. As they should be. She should be completely fired. She should never be allowed to be under the supervision or have children under her supervision again. Mm-hmm. The fact that she knew this was happening, the fact that they couldn't keep this boy's freaking tallywhacker in his pants all year long. No, I have had multiple children in my care. I have been a teacher in a teacher setting before, whether it was in a private school situation, whether it was in a church situation, whether it was as a dance teacher. I've had children in my care. You freaking control the classroom. You don't let the classroom control you.
Yes.
And my understanding is this teacher had been a teacher for like 20 or 30 years.
Like 32 years, I believe. Yeah.
Come on, man.
So actually, guess what she can do right now? She can retire with her full pension and never have to come back again. And she gets all of her money until the day she dies out of the teacher retirement program. And the thing she gets to go out on is she permitted a sexual assault within her room and then the cover up all at the same time.
Now, Walter, you're not being fair. She's a victim in this also. It's these awful children whose parents aren't raising them. And, 30 years ago when she started teaching, children were far more respectful. It's not her fault, and she's a victim. And if you dare say otherwise, the teachers union is going to come after your ass, sir.
The excuse is she had her headphones in. So that says to me is she just went, I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah. There was barbers at a beauty shop here. I guess one of the principal has a daughter in the first grade, and she's friends with the counselor. I think she works at the high school. And you know what the conversation was? They were basically saying, they don't know why we're making a big deal. These kids are bad. These kids had been cussing in the classroom that day, and they just act bad all the time, so they deserved it. That came out of a counselor and a principal's mouth.
Wait a minute. Yes. Hey, what was your cousin wearing that day? Because we could just go back to that Jodie Foster movie in the 80s where, did you see how she was dressed? She was asking for it.
That's exactly what I thought of.
Well, so I don't know if you heard me, Heather, at any point. I had a similar, not to this level, but I had you could technically say it was a sexual assault on my oldest when he was in fourth grade, so 12 years ago. And I went to my school district. Well, here's the thing. They didn't tell us. And I had just gotten out of surgery from one of my back surgeries. I was waking up from anesthesia when I get a phone call from my wife that my son had basically had two boys grab him, hold him down, and another one boy did something inappropriate. First week of school, fourth grade. We didn't find out till he started crying in the car. And I think I made this point at one point on one of the Twitter spaces was that we taught my children that no matter what happens, whoever you think told you not to talk, I'm a lot meaner than they are. And I will do more harm to them than they will do to you for whatever fear they put in you. So as soon as my son got in the car, he started crying. He tells my wife, she calls me. We're up at the school the next day. And the first thing out of the principal's mouth is, well, you got to understand there's 2 other boys involved too. My wife about come across the table. If it wasn't for his teacher, we would have never known what all the details. We actually had a very good teacher, and he had 4 daughters, and he was like, I don't even know how you're maintaining as well as you are. He's like, because if this is my daughter, I would have done work. I wouldn't even have waited as long as you did. I was like, well, I'm trying to follow the order. Anyway, but that's the thing is like, if my son had told me, who knows how many more things would happen, just like happened to what is it?
My cousin.
Your cousin, right?
My cousin, yes.
Yeah. So, who knows how long it would have gone on even further, right? Same with mine. How long would that have gone on? We went all the way to the superintendent. We went to everywhere. We went to the police. The police actually made us feel bad because they weren't 10 years old yet, told us, I can't believe you want to actually file a report. I said, I want the family investigated for what's going on. This is not normal behavior. The school played CYA. The PE teacher literally says to me, he says to me, oh, I just thought it was horseplay. Horseplay? Oh, I came unglued on him, and he
when
literally.
When does horseplay include pulling down someone's pants?
No, well, mine didn't include that, but he included grabbing.
Yeah.
Grabbing. Yeah. And I said, oh, you
horrible.
think that's horseplay? I mean, I went off on him. And at that point, I think dad mode kicked in on him, and he realized what he'd be like in my position, and he stopped talking the rest of the time. And he's never.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Like, they literally had meetings with the principal, the ISD, everything. Everybody was on cover your ass mode. Everything they said was don't talk about either child. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. It was like the whole meeting was nothing but protect the schools for what they didn't protect my son. And same with your cousin. They don't protect our children. And then they're trying to play, well, you got to understand. I don't give a shit what I got to understand. I put my children in your responsibility, and you failed your job duty. That's it.
They should be able to go to school and not have to be bullied, sexually assaulted, anything while they are in their care.
Well,
but they don't care.
No.
I don't even want to say that you expect this kind of threat in high school, because the fact that I even have to say those words out loud makes me sick to my stomach. It completely terrifies me for when my ninth grader is getting ready to be a 10th grader and going to the big campus. But the fact that you have to now be expecting this in first grade.
Yes.
First
grade. And you know what?
Mine was fourth.
You know what's
grade,
crazy?
12 years ago.
What's crazy is from the same school, the same day that this happened to my cousin, another mom messaged me on Facebook and said, well, in the 4th grade at the same school, this boy touched my daughter in the private. And you know what the school told her? Well, he's 10 years old, so unfortunately charges can't be pressed against him anyways. So they never looked into her situation either. This happened the same day as my cousin, but in the 4th grade.
Yep.
You know what can be pressed?
What?
A leather belt, a wooden paddle, right across his ass. And I guarantee you like one of these kids that, hey, listen, I got spanked for far less, and I didn't do it again.
Needed it though.
It's just
and this is a greater conversation. We sit here and we listen to these people who are attacking the mama bear groups or the school watchdog groups and all of these groups because they're just looking for problems, right? If you go to the Capitol, if you've been at the Capitol at all this legislative session, you have the trans and LGBTQ LMNOP people there. They're pushing this paraphernalia. They're pushing these books. They're pushing this agenda. And they keep trying to say, this is not, one does not equal the other. Yes, it absolutely does when you're dealing with children every single day of the week, because number one, a true child does not know the difference. Not a true child. A child does not know the difference.
Yeah,
they do not. And when
it's a learned behavior.
Exactly. When this pattern gets set in kindergarten, that's where there's a problem. This is not just kids being kids. This isn't a kindergarten little boy pecking a kiss on the cheek of another little girl because they've been playing. This is not that. This is not innocent childhood stuff. We didn't know what blowjobs were in first grade.
Yeah, and then watching porn as a 6-year-old is traumatizing in itself.
Yeah. This isn't mom and dad were making out or getting busy in their bedroom and quickly lock the door. Someone forgot to lock that. That is not this. This is a learned, ingrained behavior. This is I'm going to teach him how to treat her like she is a prostitute. That's what this is.
That's why we gave the details, because at first people thought my post was against, like, a teacher did something, and then when I told them it was kid on kid, some people kind of were like, oh, well, is it kids being kids? And that's why I was like, no, we have to put the details out there, because they have to know this is not yet, like you said, a little kiss on the cheek. This is nothing like that.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's hard to wrap your mind around it. It's my aunt still can't talk about it.
You know what's making it worse now? Is remember yesterday I asked you which way we wanted to go with that give, send, go, if you wanted money for the family or if you'd rather us get money to get people there and make sure there's people there in signs and protests. Now I'm getting now I'm getting called a grifter saying I'm exploiting you as a family when I got your authorization. This is our own side. Our own side is accusing me of exploiting and grifting right now and calling this a fundraiser instead of actually what this is about. So, hey, hold on real quick, though. Heather, this is live recorded. I'm going to post this clip when this is done. Did I get authorization from you to do that? And did you not ask specifically? You asked me to do this to get people there for the protest, to raise awareness, and not specifically for your family. Correct?
Yes, correct. I did not want to ask for money for my family because I knew people would try to push that narrative. And that's why I said, I just want people to come to the protest so this could get out there. That's what we want, is for this to get everywhere. So that way people cannot try to brush it under the rug. So yes, you did have our full permission to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I even stated on there that any money left over after I post all receipts of what we spent money on, I will hand over to y'all for any extra needs for counseling for the girl. So
they did that on our live as well. On our live, when our initial video pushing the details, someone was coming after the creator saying she needed to delete all the details because this would follow the child. And I said, this is going to follow her anyways. We live in a small town. We're giving permission to give the details, because had we not given the details, I guarantee no one would have heard about any of it.
Yep. And you know what? Here's a question for all those people. What are they doing besides, yelling grifters? Hey, I got a question. Where's the drag queens at? I mean, aren't they supposed to be teaching it? Aren't they the ones saying, hey, get this stuff done? Do they not know how to teach somebody to learn how to say no? Where's the rainbows and unicorn farts? That stuff ain't happening right here. You've got a traumatic situation with your cousin, and these ass clowns are down there getting into fights with the DPS.
Well, and here's the problem: is the people who are saying that this just needs to shut up and go away. These are people who have not dealt with their own trauma. These are people who are going, you know what? We don't talk about Bruno. Right? My favorite line these days. We don't want to talk about this because we're uncomfortable. And since we're uncomfortable, they need to be traumatized for the rest of their lives. This is going to follow your cousin for the rest of her life.
Yes.
Because grown-ups did not stand in the gap. They did not make sure that she was safe. That teacher did not do her job. That superintendent is not doing his job. The principal is not. Nobody that was supposed to be there for her did her job. She's going to have trust issues now with grown-ups. Yeah. And then they bring in a male CPS worker. I can't, as a mom of a daughter.
And he's a big guy too. He's a taller, scary-looking guy. And she always wanted to be a cop. And we asked her now if that's still the truth, and she says she doesn't know anymore.
Yeah. So she doesn't trust the cops because the cops that were in her school that she sees every day didn't come to help her. This is a 6-year-old's Uvalde realization.
Yeah.
You might as well have brought Pete Arredondo up there and let him be the on-school resource officer.
Wow. Here's the deal. We talked about this last night on the phone, Heather, when we were setting up for today. And I told you, I said, I did say those things. I said, when people are because you made the statement on the phone that people in your community are more upset than y'all are speaking out than what happened to your cousin. And I told you last night, I said the problem is that, you know, people when they don't know what to do, when they don't know how to react, they don't know how to feel, they have to blame something that is not the issue, right? So they're going to sit here and they're going to push the blame on you guys for speaking out because you're the ones that are making them uncomfortable. They did not know that this was happening, number one, and they did not know that they should not be okay with the people that are entrusting their children, that they're entrusting their children's care to. They are the problem because they are now feeling a guilt that they don't know how to deal with because they didn't know to ask questions. They were not being involved. And it's almost like I hate to equate it to this, but it's almost like a survivor's guilt. It's that kind of mentality, right? Like I have to feel guilty now. So now I have to say, you're the bad guy because I didn't do the right thing. I was not there asking questions. I was not there protecting these children. You know, it sucks because people don't know how to handle their own shit. They don't know how to handle their own problems and their own trauma and their own emotions. So now you're the bad guy because you told us that the people that we were supposed to be trusting were bad guys.
Yep.
And you're proving that they're bad guys. And we are so cattle-like in our mentality that we have to just follow wherever the masses go. And the masses have said we're supposed to trust these people, and now you're telling us not to trust them. And they don't know what to do.
Exactly.
And you know, that being said, you know, all the boys that participated. Now, here's the other thing. You can't guarantee that what happened to her on that iPad didn't get onto someone's cell phone.
Yeah. We don't know if he recorded on his dad's phone as well, you know?
Right. Or if that was the only other one. So
but they won't tell us any of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I made the statement earlier, Aaron. I don't know if you heard it, but just so you can make sure that this is getting out in all of these circles, they need to go after. They need to put a lawsuit for child pornography on every single adult in that school district and in that school that has access to the iCloud, that has access to the backside. I mean, every single one of them for possession and for seeing child pornography, because the only way that they know that this is child pornography means that they've watched it.
They've watched it.
And they're protecting it.
And, you know, I spoke to someone yesterday and she had a good point. She was like, you know, the whole reason that they never told us sooner is because they said they had to unlock the iPad from the IT department. And this one lady said, you really think in your small little town that a kid's smart enough to password lock it, the teachers can't get in? They have an IT department who's going to hack in and crack passwords and do all that. No, they just want to have a story on why it took a week to do anything. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, how can a 6-year-old do all that and make it to where adults can't get into the iPad unless they had done it before?
Do you remember the stories about 10, 15 years ago when schooling first went online and they had the IT departments, and then kids were coming home and they were doing their homework online and everything else. And the next thing you know, the server was, they did an audit on the server and found out the IT guy was hacking into everyone's their camera lens while they're in their bedroom changing and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know what? People have a short history. And again, the school district is a government. The school district is the largest piece of tax that takes your money from you, from your property. They're over 50 to 70% of the taxing entity of your personal property. And we're supposed to trust them, the people that take our money, the people that build these crappy institutions. Your institution happens to be a UNESCO site. They were very proud. Dirty Sanchez was very proud to post his proclamation saying, we love the United Nations and their open harmony. And I'm surprised y'all didn't have Drag Queen Story Hour there last October.
So
I wasn't aware of any of that.
Really quick before we go any further, we're getting some messages and comments about people who, and we've had a whole influx of people that just popped on. This is a story out of Plainview, Texas. The Plainview ISD is covering up a 6-year-old boy forcing a 6-year-old girl to give him a blowjob in the classroom with others watching, while it was recorded on a school iPad for sure that we know of. And the teacher just acted like nothing happened. Now, this is not just a one-time incident. The same little boy and has been going around all school year in the middle of the lunch line, in the middle of the library, pulling down his pants and making kids see his penis. I mean, it's just, and threatening them if they didn't touch it or whatever. And so now it's gotten to it where he's finally abused another student, and the school board and the ISD and the principal and every single adult in the school's chain of command is going, meh, it happens.
And now those boys are just moved to different classrooms. And so they're not notifying those parents that those boys are now around their daughters.
Hey,
and they feel like they have no need to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know, not to make light of that,
we call that growing the crop. They're spreading the victimhood around. I mean, they victimize the victim. Now they're going to create more victims.
At the beginning of this school year, my Arthur, who's in kindergarten, he came home and he had been complaining about a little boy in his class who was just being disruptive. Like he was, you know, throwing papers off the just normal bad behavior, disruptive, right? And you know, he had even taken Arthur's crayon box one day and threw them all on the ground, like just a disruptive child. And Arthur was very upset about it, and he was coming home and he was telling us about it. And so I said, okay, well, I'm messaging the teacher, and he goes, well, they've now moved him to a new classroom. And he goes, and he looks at me at 5 years old and says, Mom, I don't know what that's going to fix. Now he's just going to cause problems in another classroom.
Somewhere else. Yeah.
And so, you know what I'm saying? Like when a 5-year-old is going, this isn't solving any problems.
They have it more figured out than these adults.
Going to catch on that's not going to solve any problem.
Yeah.
Like something more has to be done. And you know, and this is a problem where parents are so, you know, 20 years ago, you see the memes on Facebook. It's like 20 years ago, the teacher and the parent were yelling at the student for why there was bad grades. And now 20 years later, it's the student and the parent are yelling at the teacher as to why there's bad grades. That goes both ways. So we need to have a policy. And let me rephrase that. It's there. It's called expelling. You can expel a student. Remember when they used to expel students all the time for stupid stuff? Now we have real problems, and they're not expelling students from the classroom anymore. Not just the classroom, from the school.
Yeah.
And making it the parents' problem, because this is a parent's problem.
You know, to touch on that, so not only are these kids feeling unsafe, they didn't do anything. In the past, people have made threats about doing violence at the school. I don't know how much I could say. They never did anything. But now that the teachers and the administrators feel unsafe, they cancel school. But they didn't care that these little girls were in the same class with these boys for a week, and they never canceled school then. But now that us protesters are making them feel scared, school is canceled.
You know what? I hope it's canceled the rest of the school year.
Hey, remember what Antifa did, right? Nobody did anything. You don't see. It's only the patriotic people that went to the White House or the Capitol. It's only the patriotic people that said. I mean, because technically, you do realize that right now you have just under Merrick Garland's watch. You are technically. I know you're a cousin, but you're also a parent. But you're still the cousin. So you're considered a domestic terrorist because you're going against the school board, specifically what the FBI put out.
Yep. Listen, guys, I hate to do this because but we have to have another commercial break. So if you guys would mind holding on, or if you have to go, we completely understand. If you have to go, we thank you so much for being on the show. Aaron, I need you to stick around for after the commercial because you need to give us our marching orders on what we're doing next, though. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
A absolute huge thank you to our amazing sponsors, the Montgomery County Tea Party. Don't forget the first and the third Monday of every month. Be at Citizens Grill in Conroe, Texas. The meeting starts at 6:30. Get there a little bit early so that you can have fun with your friends. Then, of course, a huge thank you to the Vietnam Veterans of America. We truly appreciate your service and sacrifice, not just on foreign shores, but once you came home, you fought a battle that nobody expected. And not only did you fight it, but you continue to fight it, and you make sure that no other veteran has to go through the same thing that you guys went through. Thank you so much for what you're doing and continue to do. If you're interested in hosting a commercial here on Texas Fully Loaded, please let us know. You can go to texasfullyloaded.com and let us know that way if you would just like to support our show, because we're bringing you the raw, the truth, the real stuff, and we're not just reporting it. We are helping to make a change. Go to texasfullyloaded.com, click on hashtag We the People Work. You can also go to PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App at Texas Fully Loaded. Now, Aaron, I don't want to keep you too much longer because you have got a ton of stuff that you're doing, but I need you to give us some action items. So we here are We the People Work. So how can We the People help solve what's happening? What are our next steps?
Yeah, so that's been the problem. Now we're starting to have the confusion, which is why I brought up the whole situation with the Give, Send, Go. This isn't about raising money. This is about covering the cost. We had a Twitter reporter named Nick Sorter who covered East Palestine and got a lot of information out that the media was covering. He does this stuff at no charge other than he asked for people to cover his expenses. So we needed to find a way to get group up and get some expenses. We asked the family directly, what would you prefer? If I do the Give, Send, Go, do you want me to direct the money to you? Do you want us to direct it to get the protest, to get people there to cover it and get you the results that you're asking for? And that's what they asked for. So the whole point of the Give, Send, Go is simply to raise money for what we asked for, which is a protest. We need hundreds, if not thousands, of people in Plainview, Texas. I will get you the information, Sandra, so you can post it. Y'all can go to my Twitter at Sorrels, the number 4 Texas. But you can also just look up hidden in Plainview is what we're running with. It's kind of an appropriate run on words, like they're hiding in this, and it's the city name is Plainview. So we kind of ran with that as a tag for everybody to go with. But the point is we have to stand. I'm tired of listening to conservatives whine on social media. I'm tired of listening to them. We ran around the state bitching nonstop about oh my God, BLM's doing this, and oh my God, the left's doing this. And when we call to action, you need to be there. Yep. Plain and simple. Yep. You need to be there. That means if you can't, you need to provide money to us to get signs, to provide people resources to get there, to stay in lodging, to do whatever it is. Because the reason the left wins is that they fight. They put people on the ground. They're in your face. They're harassing the schools. They're harassing the businesses. They're doing the boots on the ground work. They're not just complaining. And that is the issue, Sandra. Everybody complains in our movement, but they don't do what needs to be done. And I'm tired of listening to it. So if you're going to bitch and you're going to complain, you better either get your butt to Plainview on May 18th. You better find a way to pay for someone to get there, or you better donate for us that are trying to do it, because any money left over is going directly to this family. We're trying to find her counseling services outside of the main city line, so that we know what small towns are like in Texas. You can't be in that town because everybody knows. And what's going on right now is what you saw in every Western media, every Western movie you ever saw, right? The rich guys in town are threatening everybody. The town is afraid to stand up because they're afraid of retribution from everybody that's in there. And that's what you heard. This town is more mad at her and the family for protecting their children than they are at the people that did this to the children. This is unacceptable in 2023 that we are in this position where we're afraid as conservatives and as Christians to go stand for our fellow brothers and sisters. I don't get it. Like, it gets me emotional because I'm tired of it. And everybody's now, I'm getting called a grifter on Twitter, and screw all of you. Yeah. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your feet where your mouth is. Because if we don't learn to fight the proper way, and yes, protests work. We are organizing this protest. We are properly running it. If anybody gets out of line, we will have their asses turned into the cops faster than they can blink. We will not let this be used against us like a January 6th situation. So you need to tell everybody. We have to become the narrative. We have to become the media now. In 24 hours, from the moment a TikTok video was seen about this, 4 of us got on Twitter. It managed to be 20 people on a Twitter space talking live. 24 hours, we had over 3 million plus views, thanks to Sarah Fields. By the next day, within less than 36 hours, we had Laura Logan covering it, thanks to Walter, and things like that. And all the things that have been done. We can control the narrative. We can control the media. We have to learn to do it. We have to learn to stop being afraid, and we have to fight for these people. And if we can't defend young children, if that's not where your break point is as a Christian and as a Republican, a libertarian, a conservative, a left-leaning, a Democrat that doesn't believe in the crazy ideologies, if this isn't where you draw your line, which I hate using because when you drew your line at the Alamo, people knew they were dying. So if you're not willing to metaphorically draw a line where you make the stand finally, for this, I don't know where we make our stand, because this should make your blood boil. We better show up by the thousands. We better be engaged, and we better protect this damn child, and we better support this family against the hell that's coming for them. And then we are going to make sure that this superintendent doesn't get to run to another freaking school district, because this would be his third already. He's going to try to run to his fourth. The teachers are going to try to run. I want to haunt these people for the rest of their lives for what they did to this child and what they allowed to happen to other children. I don't want them to be able to breathe without worrying where the hell I am and Hailey and a couple other people that are involved right now, and where our type of organizations are going, Sandra, because they think that they control our families and can do this. I want them to live not only hell after this, but I want them to have hell on earth for what they've done to these children. And that's what we have to feel like.
Our dear friend John Spires, I know that you're going to help rally up the torches and the pitchforks for this. This is when I told him this morning what was happening. He said, "Sandra, you got to be kidding me, John." Y'all remember each other, John, Aaron, John.
Yeah, Aaron.
Hi, John.
It's good to see you. It's terrible under these circumstances. This is disgusting. It's just awful. I had been following several other stories, and I'd heard something in periphery about what was happening in Plainview. And then when Sandra told me this morning, and I went online and I was reading what's in the public domain just to see what is out there, I felt sick. This is awful. The parents of all of these children are, well, the parents of the little girl, I can't imagine what it must be like for them. None of us can. The parents of the children who did this, they need to take a careful look at what they're doing. But I have a particular anger at the school system. I think that they have failed to protect these children. They have failed in their duty. Now, I'm going to be one of the first to say, I don't have all the facts. I know there's supposedly an investigation, and I hope that they get to the bottom of it. But this is unacceptable. End of story. Unacceptable. And anyone who thinks it is funny or cute or just a passing phase and kids will be kids, well, kids may be kids, adults need to be adults. And we need to make sure that these kids are taught the right thing, and we need to protect the children. Kids don't always make good decisions. We've all been there. But adults are the ones who are supposed to be in charge. They're not supposed to be these children's friends. They're supposed to be adults. And I'm kind of I'm flummoxed. I just don't even know.
By the way, to be clear, John, since you haven't heard everything, it's actually the guardian, because this kid already had a rough parents, and they were evidently had drug addiction. So she doesn't even live with the parents. So this girl has never had she's just never been without turmoil her entire life. And now this happens, and they know that. So that's why they take advantage of this, because they know that they have guardians and it's not the same level. Right.
That is awful. That is awful. Thank you for telling me that, but it's awful.
This is a complete system of abuse situation, not by the girl in her current care situation, but of the system at large, because it's so much easier to sweep things under the rugs when you don't have to deal with the parent. Right. And so this is just proof of the school district and CPS and everybody else who are used to being able to just sweep this right under the rug, because it's not a mama bear. Right. Mm-hmm. It's a grandparent. It's somebody who's probably not going to pay as much attention. They're just making sure they're getting to and from. Like they're preying on the fact that they can think that they can get away with this. And here's the question that that I know it's being asked, but it hasn't been asked on the show. And we've only got 1 minute left. But how many other children has this happened to? John, you and I were both just at a rally this last weekend in Austin, and it was called How Many More? And it was the rally itself was great, but it was really just a huge circle jerk. It was the same 400 people that show up at everything. What we're trying to do here with Aaron, and this is something that we have all spoken about over the last several years that we've known each other, is we've got to get out of our circle jerk sounding box. This is yet another instance and another reason. Aaron, you said it perfectly. If people are not pissed off, if they're not there, then they're not pissed off. And if you can't physically be there in some way. Share it. Talk about it in your circle groups. Make sure that people know. Make them uncomfortable, because nobody will do something until they are uncomfortable. It's something you used to say all the time in your speeches, Aaron. It's something that we all have that same feeling and sense about us. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not going to do something. Get uncomfortable, because there is. I literally just held Charlotte and was in tears about this child. Charlotte's getting locked away. We're putting her in an ivory tower. That's just all there is to it. But
if they can do it to this child, they can do it to any child. This is a systemic problem, and we have ignored it. And I point the finger firmly at us in many ways, because we as a society have ignored it. And thank goodness people are waking up. Aaron, thank you for waking up. Thank you for screaming this from the mountaintops. People need to hear this. It is totally unacceptable. This is not the world that we grew up in, that we want to have our children grow up in. This is certainly not Texas. This is terrible.
Well, guys, I appreciate both of you. I appreciate your wisdom, your leadership, and your firepower. So thank you guys so much. Aaron will be sending us the information on everything we need to know. Be looking at the hashtag Hidden in Plain View on social media. Of course, Twitter is being where they're putting out the most information, but we're going to make sure it's on all of our social media platforms, and we will not stop talking about this. But mark your calendars for May 18th. Let's go see North Texas, guys. We'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.
Thanks, Hunter.